Welcome to this early morning, at least if you're in America, edition of The Scoop. We're going to be a little bit surgical today, folks, because we'll be talking strictly and solely about the sacking of Igor Tudor. Since this is a Scoop episode, we will not be talking about how we feel about it, but we will be talking about the facts of what led to the sacking, what happened behind the scenes after Lazio, and what's going on behind the scenes early this morning as to his replacement. So, of course, I am joined by our great source of information.
And now, Freddy Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
Tried to put had to put that in there just to give us a little bit of levity today, Frederic, because a lot of change and, of course, a lot of depression after yesterday's defeat. No?
Yes, very much so. I don't know what's happening with my head right now on screen. It seems as
But with your
StreamYard's
background,
been.
yeah, it's eating
Yeah, I'm. Now I know how Tudor feels.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go like this.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So didn't come as a shock or a surprise. I think to a lot of people,
Oh.
what did come as a shock and a surprise is the fact I think that everything is decided today because we didn't see Komoli yesterday in front of the camera.
Mhm.
And I was complaining about that in our chat group, but I think that was something that he did not by accident, but it was a definitive choice because after the game, there was this sort of speed meeting with John Alcon, Modesto, and another a bunch of people, I think, where Alcon basically said, "You're free to do whatever you want. It's your job. I don't want to intervene. Your decision. But one thing needs to be set straight. This fourth place thing is a must go. Do whatever you need, but I need fourth place." So after this debating a bit, it was clear that Tudor had to go.
Mhm.
It was communicated to Tudor, the team and management this morning at around 9:30ish prior to the training session. And now begins our casting, which I feel will be fairly quickly over with.
Well, let's
My
talk about that.
sources.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
talk about
sure.
that. Okay. So you had said, let's kind of break down the timeline. You had said, um, after Como, that Comolli would have fired him on the spot, and that John Alcon was hesitant to do that because of a run of games, 3 coaches under contract, and all this stuff. So clearly, Comolli wanted him out last weekend. Your 0 for 3 prediction on Bepe's podcast a week and a couple days ago proved correct. Then
Sadly.
he was given the keys to do that. Okay. Now we had talked on the scoop just a few days ago that some conversations were kind of starting with some people's entourage, right? Your Spallettis, your Palladinos, and some other folks, right? And so um, we're going to get into that real quick. But you had also said that you want everything's to be resolved today. So everyone kind of thought, okay, he's fired. Brambilla is going to be our temporary. Brambilla being Massimo Brambilla being the next gen manager. Are you telling us, and just to be extremely clear, that he's not going to see a game?
I think you will. I think you will. I think what the priority at this point is because there are a number of candidates. Some are in a favorite role, others are not. I think what needs to be done now is make sure that there's a sense of alignment between management because there's a lot of diverse opinions floating around. I know for a fact that up to this point, today, now, Spalletti is in pole. Why is Spalletti in pole? Well, he has the experience. He's obtained results, especially within Italy. I'm not going to talk about the national team because that's a whole other setting. I don't think we need to grade a coach solely on one experience in a national team. And the fact that Spalletti was able to revive numbers of players throughout his career. And I think that Kamoli has the feeling that he'd be able to do so with our strikers up front, with Koopmeiners, and that the preferred tactical scheme that Spalletti uses or used to use, correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, because you're a tactical wizard here, is a 4-3-3, which
Correct.
we all agreed on that would suit this team at this moment best. Only another thing that's very interesting is Spalletti is pretty much insane in terms of how he handles himself, but he's also one who's very clear, very structuralized. He doesn't tolerate any locker room nonsense. Um, so, what if you look in retrospect? What happened is that the locker room lost, or the coach lost the locker room in several moments. Not only Tudor but also Mota. But as a coach, you shouldn't allow that. And I think Spalletti has broad shoulders to counter that. He put Totti out of a Roma team. So I wouldn't be surprised if he do the same with, say, Locatelli, for instance. This guy has balls, and I think this is something that we need, and we expected when Tudor was brought in,
Mhm.
but he lost some of that, and that was something we sorely needed, I think. So Spalletti and Paul, but I wouldn't rule out a surprise. I wouldn't rule out a surprise.
And what do you mean by a surprise? Is this, are you talking like we on our episode the other day? What do we had? We had Terzic, we had Rossa, we had Molta coming back, we had Mancini, we had Spalletti, we had Palladino. Are you saying a surprise? Someone not on that list? Because
I'd even
that's really the free agent. That's really the free agent coach list, isn't it?
I'd even go as far as to say that perhaps Zidane could be persuaded. I know that's a fantasy thing, but I wouldn't rule it out because, like I said, the opinions are so diverse within management,
Mhm.
and everybody within management has certain contacts, has certain people they'd like to work with. So I wouldn't be surprised. But make no mistake, it's Comoli who gives the final say because I've read a lot of criticism about
Mhm.
Comoli in the recent few days. Some of them, or some of the criticisms, are fair, just. Others are a bit exaggerated. Let's not forget this is a guy who's been here for a couple of months, was thrown into the mess with just the sentence, "Hey, go figure it out." So it's not an easy task, and the fact that he, took up responsibility and fired Tudor today is a testament of that. That he wants to, handle things the right way. I can definitely rule out Palladino.
Okay.
Nobody in management is convinced about Palladino, and Comoli is not prepared to take another gamble.
That would be a huge. It would be a huge gamble for a guy who's what managed 3 or 4 years at the at the top level, and despite his Juventus connection, we saw that with Tudor. That's not enough. Tudor had
No,
what 15 years of managerial experience, and
yes,
it just wasn't the right. So I think you need to get the right profile in.
yeah, because also that was a marriage that and that commenced in a bit of a negative state, and ended up even worse. So I don't think Comoli wants to go down that road again.
Mhm.
And an interesting thing is also Chiellini was not involved in this decision. Because I
Mm.
see Chiellini's name popping up in media. Chiellini is out of the country, or out of Italy at this point. I don't know as to why or what. I think it has to do with marketing, but he wasn't somebody that was consulted prior to making this decision. Whereas Modesto was a bit more hesitant about firing Tudor. It was Comoli who made the decision.
All right, let's talk about then if Brambilla is going to see a run of games potentially until the international break. So what? That's a few more games, 3 or 4. Let's talk about him just really briefly. Um, Brambilla came in as the interim next gen coach last year when the team was kind of. I mean, they were bottom of it. They were bottom of their table in Serie C. And we had been kind of talked on the podcast a few times, just that that's horrible. The project, blah blah blah. He comes in, team goes on an absolute tear. Um, and they've started decently this year. The next gen team, for those not aware, generally starts pretty weekly. Weekly, not as in every week, but weekly as in not strong. Um,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of turnover in that team. It's very young, and then they kind of go throughout the season. So far, they're about mid-table, doing pretty decently in their group in Serie G. He's employed different formations. I think most recently with the team at 3-5-2. Not that we're really going to be spending a lot of time um, analyzing the tactics of our next gen coach, because I don't anticipate him being a long-term fix for Juventus that we'd even need to
No.
spend the time. But um, he's again, I said about 3-5-2. He's spent most of his managerial career, which you might be surprised to hear is over a decade old. He's 52, so he's been actually managing for quite some time, almost exclusively at the youth ranks, though. So for some people coming in and being, hey, he's kind of turned the next gen around, blah blah. Maybe he's our guy. I think it's extremely unlikely, like 99.9999999% Frederic, right? That he's not being evaluated in any way,
No.
shape, or form as the next manager, correct?
No, 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 no. He's just gonna be there. And I think they'll give him the Wednesday game and sort of because it's already Monday. Let
Hmm.
me, paint a picture about the timeline. We still don't know who we are going for in terms of somebody that pleases management as a whole. We have some names, we have some contacts, but nothing's set in stone yet. So we need to determine that first. If you can get that done fairly quickly, we're up at another 24 hours. Then you have the game coming up like another 24 hours later. So, I mean, there's a lot of hurdles we need to cross in order to get that coach in. So I think the message that was sent to Brambilla was you'll have this game. We'll try to get the new coach in either prior, just before, or after. But should that not happen, then we'll give you the keys to the locker room for an indefinite amount of time because we need to make a very clear-cut decision here.
Yeah.
So there is a sense of urgency, but Kamoli is very aware of the fact that he cannot make the same mistake again. And I'm gonna try to stress this once again. I did it in the previous pods as well, but if we don't make the fourth spot, it's a disaster.
Hmm.
Like with a capital D. No, fuck it, all in caps. It could be the end of Juventus. I mean, we're talking about the end of Juventus now, but that could very well be the end of Juventus.
Yeah,
As
because then
as
you
as
you
to
then you have to fire sale the team, and then you don't have the foundations such as this Milan
yeah,
team that wasn't in Europe to maintain the core, build on it, and then return, right?
yeah.
And so that
No,
that's
no,
that that's an honest concern. And I will plug that we're planning. Turn Giants is planning later today to do sort of a Tudor post game Lazio, but more so a
eulogy.
eulogizing Tudor's time in charge of Juventus, where we're going to kind of get into those broader topics. And so, if that's what you're looking for in today's scoop episode, I'm sorry. And we want to kind of stick to uh, establishing the coaching timeline and the facts behind the scenes later today. In a few hours, we will be recording that. If we can do it live, we'll do it live because we enjoy y'all's participation. We would have done this live if we could have. We just didn't have all the connections set up at this early time. So that stay tuned for that. I think so. The last thing is we got up to speed on our timeline. We talked about Brembia for however many games he's going to be in charge, and now let's talk Spalletti. If he is the front runner, and you said, and again, we're conditioning this, and you said don't be surprised if there's a surprise.
Yeah.
But if it is Spalletti, you had said I think during the scoop episode that he would be amenable to a 1+1 contract. Is that still what you're getting from your sources?
Yeah, what I know is that Mancini, we didn't have direct contact with Mancini, but what his management or people around him made seem is that he wasn't up for he wanted a project, so to speak. And I hate
Hmm.
that word, but a project usually means within the footballing world a 3 to 4 year
Hmm.
contract. Comoli is very, very anti long contracts. He's going to remedy that as well. So my guess at this point is that it's a 1 year contract, well, from now till the end of the season, and with an option that can be triggered by Juventus management. So I don't think they want to make the same mistake as they did with Tudor
Hmm.
because you were with your back against the wall. with Tudor. You didn't have any other available choices, so you had to go with what was at that point the best solution. And I don't think Comoli wants to be in that position ever again. So I think he'll consolidate by giving him this season and an option that can be triggered Juventus side for next.
Now you said
But
Mancini. If I said Mancini, I apologize. I meant Spalletti. Are you
oh,
saying?
okay.
Are you saying? So Spalletti, I think you said a 1+1. There was no project talk during their scoop on
No,
Spalletti. And again,
no.
apologies if I was the one who said Mancini, but I meant Spalletti. You had said he would actually be cool with, a 1+1. Bring him in with an option to extend for a year. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. And at this point, the only coach that has been contacted officially has been Spalletti.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Okay.
So
So
my reasoning is that
okay.
it's Spalletti for Comoli because he's the one
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
helm of everything is the number one choice.
Okay. Alrighty. So, but what you say, and this will kind of bring it to a close. This sort of quick express episode of the scoop. It could be so quick that we kind of know. It might not be official, and God knows that Juventus's ability to sign paperwork. We've seen Darren Burgess is a little embarrassing, but so we might know the name today, but chances are with all of the flying and signing and formalization, that might not happen until later this week. Is that sort of a fair uh, probability?
I'd even go as far as saying that it would potentially make sense to do it, during the international break, which doesn't mean a lot for the new coach because if he comes in during an international break, everybody's gone. But at least you give him time to get used to La Continassa, the people that
Yeah.
work there, structural things. So I wouldn't be surprised. The way that they told me is that there's no given deadline,
Hmm.
that it's now all about making the right choice.
Get the right guy
And
in
that's
at
why,
the right time.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why I also said, be weary of surprises because a lot of coaches send in their resumes by themselves.
Yeah.
Even
I did. Well, who knows? We'll roll the dice.
I tried as well, but I don't think. But like Blanc, the French coach even solicited. There's even talk about Postecoglou giving a call to Continassa. So Farhad's dream might have.
Don't even talk about
No,
it. The freaking
but
Farhad.
that no, but there's like a lot of names, like a lot of people that are ready to fill in. But Comoli is hell bent on making the right choice because Comoli, and I wanted to take a moment to point this out as well. Comoli is very disappointed, not only in himself, even though he did the best he could do, but in Juventus as a structure, because the things that we are experiencing right now is not just the work of one guy.
Hmm.
This is uh, these events are created by a lot of people in charge, decision wise, and even the players. Don't get me wrong, because our good friend Comoli, once again, good friend, is
Yeah, we need
very
Alessandro Belpiero for the good friend, for
yeah.
the good
I'm
friend
sorry,
corner.
but he's very, very disappointed in some players, and it all started to go a bit haywire after Locatelli's post on Instagram, which we talked about on Bepe's episode.
Hmm.
That didn't, fell into good grounds with Comoli. And that's also what led to this decision because he feels that if you're a coach, you need to keep your players in check. And
It,
he had the feeling that that Tudor couldn't do that in some way, shape, or form. So,
I'm gonna go a little opinion on you because just honest. Take a step back. Just honest, Frederic. And
mhm,
I might have this. We might go through the same exercise later today. But
sure,
just be honest. We talked about it. These players, just in a vacuum, these players, when you look at Serie A, that's a top 4 team,
yeah, no doubt.
right? Right. It is the manager's job to make them, as I've said a zillion times now over the last couple of weeks, the whole greater than the sum of its parts. When that doesn't happen and the team doesn't meet their goals, the manager gets fired. But neither of us are so naive as to think that it's some magic thing that a manager comes in and builds it like Lego blocks into this perfect amalgamation. It's a marriage between adults, these are the athletes, and the
Yeah,
manager. Yes, the manager has to manage their personalities and their expectations and their playing time and all the stuff and their tactics and the organization and their knowledge of what he wants to do. Sure. And I definitely think Tudor has failed in that regard and deserved to be fired considering that. But these players are not going out there and doing themselves justice. And so I think we can harp on Tudor, and we're probably going to be quite critical later today on his tenure, at least this season, his portion of his tenure. But these players are in no way, shape, or form being let off the hook by us as it comes to that. And I think that will be also a big portion of the narrative later today. Would you not agree?
I definitely agree, and that's why I also stand by potentially signing Spalletti.
To whip some people, as much as I don't like him, you know,
No,
he'll
no,
come in
no.
and whip people into shape, type of thing.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing. Like, we're not looking for a good friend now. We're looking for a coach. We need somebody who understands the fundamentals of being a coach at a high level,
Mhm.
and that wasn't Tudor. And we spoke about his Juventinità and his past and DNA and all these things. And that's very well and nice. But if you have a team that underperforms and you don't get them back on the rails, then all these things are not important anymore. You need somebody with, tactical flexibility, somebody with man management, and somebody who has been through this before and has some experience and know how to guide teams out of this.
A-
So,
And and with Locatelli's thing that you said, and him being our captain, right? If you don't have a good, mature, experienced leader in the locker room, which I believe every team needs to have, and we don't, the coach has to also step into that role. And Tudor, we both thought would be able to do that considering his connection to the club and his fiery personality. But we
mhm,
didn't see that fire this season, right? And I think
no.
Spalletti, and you said it right, he is kind of insane. Not Conti level insane, but he's insane. He'll go in there and like it or hate it, he will be the adult in the room. He won't accept for any of that BS. God, I don't like him as a coach, but I do think he'll go in there with that level of fire. I mean, just real quickly, and we'll maybe close with this in the interest of kind of at the end of our program here. But do you think with this current crop of players, a guy like Spalletti comes in with his particular brand of insanity, could that not unravel the dressing room as opposed to unite it?
I think so, but if you look at the statistics and the things that Spalletti did in the past, and I'm going to be the first one to admit that I'm not a fan of Spalletti as a human being, but his stats and the things that he's pulled off are fairly incredible given the material he had at his disposal. And so I have a feeling that he could achieve fourth place, but I'm not sure if this is the guy that we want to be in charge when we restructurize everything, when we start afresh again. Because that's something people need to keep in mind as well. It's not like we're changing one cogwheel and we'll be a well-oiled machine. That's not going to happen. We'll get results. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, can Kamoli prepare himself already for next season and
Yeah.
dispense with all this bullshit? Because we're heading on a path where we're going to self implode if we keep on doing what we're doing last couple of years. So if you can get a coach in like Spalletti who can at least demand some respect and get some, because you saw it yesterday as well, the players didn't respond. We got a goal back in the 8th minute. You see Tudor frantically pointing, but nobody was following him. He was talking with. Well, I'm not gonna
Yeah, we'll get into
digress.
that.
I'm
We'll
sorry. I'm
get into that
sorry. I'm
later.
sorry.
All right. Well, we'll end today's episode. You had mentioned the stats. The stats, yeah, they don't lie with regards to Spalletti. I think many of us know him. So the newer Serie A fans will know him from his time at Inter, as well as his Scudetto winning side at Napoli. But if you go back further, he's been a manager for 30 years. He had a very long, successful tenure at Roma, racking up 299 games in charge of them. Frederic alluded to some of his experience there, but he's operated across the entire spectrum of Syria, Italian football pyramid to bring, his coaching resume over 1,000 games. We had talked about Tudor not being able to finish 50 games with a club in over a decade. Obviously, that trend continues. Spalletti has spent, almost 100 with Napoli winning the Scudetto, over almost 100 with Inter being, widely successful there, and Roma, like I said, 299 games. This is a guy who knows Italian football, who knows Serie A, and who knows how to elevate a club. And from as much as I don't like him, with those qualifications in mind, I think that if you try to take a big, large step back to try to be somewhat objective, is the type of profile, maybe not the person, but the type of profile that Juventus sorely needs.
Yeah, and to switch back, closing thoughts. We mentioned Locatelli.
Hmm.
Um,
Uh-oh.
Locatelli and Spalletti are not
Yeah.
friendly
What
toward each
if people aren't aware of this, if some folks aren't, big Azzurri fans, why don't you tell the folks why what's going on there?
other. Well, it all started with when Spalletti was coaching the national team. For some reason, he didn't call up Locatelli. Um, and Locatelli himself, that's what the rumor mill says, but my source doesn't say that it didn't happen. Locatelli called up Spalletti asking for a sort of, well, just an explanation as to why. And Spalletti just said, "You're not good enough. You think you're world class, but you're way below that."
Well,
That was the phone call. So, but Spalletti's like that. He's very, very straight to the point.
but as an athlete, let's take a step back here. We talked about, his brand of insanity, right?
Hmm.
You have two choices as a human being. Like, we all work jobs, right? This is not our job, Frederick. We have real jobs.
No, 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 no,
Um,
no.
does anyone want to be talked about that way? No. And you might say, if your boss is that way, is that a toxic environment? Maybe. But you have two choices as a human. One, you can bitch and moan, or two, you can take a step back and you can think about, why did that person say this? What truth is there to it? And what can I do to be better? And I think in a sporting world, and we've played sports at a fairly high level, Frederic, it's not uncommon for the feedback to be in a more direct, sometimes bombastic nature, right? I've certainly been told stuff like that. And not once did
Same.
I go home and moan about it. It's like, okay, the whole core of football, any sport really is, okay, you can put your nose down to the grindstone, you work hard so that you prove that guy wrong. And I think, and maybe that we're talking different generations of footballers, but I think if that comes in and these players are honest with themselves looking at their performance on the pitch, one would hope that they would take feedback like that and turn it into positive energy to improve. Yeah.
And that's just the thing. Our dressing room has a lot of players that are not capable of taking that feedback, that straight to the point feedback, and turning that into something positive. Because Spalletti also expanded on that in the press conference. He said, "For me, Locatelli is not a midfielder who can influence a game, and my midfielders need to influence a game, whether be it in a defensive manner or an attacking manner. If I put somebody as a midfield behind the strikers, I need that somebody to score, to give out assists. If you can't do that as a midfielder, then you don't have a place on my team." So he's as rigorous in his mentality, but you can't fault him at that point, especially if you see who he's worked with. And I alluded that previously. He put Totti out of a AS Roma team.
Mhm.
I mean, you have to
That's
have
bold. It's bold. Very
a lot
bold.
of confidence to do that. So in that respect, and that's me circling back to your last question, I think that'd be a change of pace
Mhm.
because we need somebody to tell the players as well who's boss in the dressing room, and somebody needs to decide and needs to stick to a certain team. And I can't shake the feeling that a Kenan Yildiz will thrive under um, Spalletti, in my opinion.
Let's hope the team can, simply so that we can keep guys like him, an informed version of Turan, which we haven't seen in a while, and so on and so forth. But I think, folks, I think we've covered it generally today.
Another
Oh, go ahead, Frederic.
just got a text in. Sorry.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Hit it. Hit
Um,
us. Hit us.
there will be an official proposal by Bayern Munich for Vlahovic in the window coming up in December, January, I think, January.
Hey,
I don't know if it's gonna pertain the immediate transfer or in the summer, but a lot of interest from Bayern Munich.
very cool. Well, we got a non-coach scoop on the scoop today. I think many of us are kind of find a sign off on the Vlahovic tenure at Juve. So thank you for that, Frederic. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in real quickly to this short. It actually wasn't that short. 30-minute episode of the Scoop, our special edition focused on managers. Stay tuned later today where we will, I think we're going to absolutely try to be later today to do our Tudor eulogy as well as working a little post-game Lazio. As always, Frederic, thank you to all the listeners. We appreciate you so
Thank you.
much, and we will talk to you soon. Until then, as always, and regardless of who's the manager, Forza Juve.